Hey guys, if you're listening to this, you obviously like podcasts. You probably like music too, I would imagine. On Spotify, you can listen to all of that in one place for free. You don't even need a premium account. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now. The good thing is, is on Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcast so you never miss an episode. You can download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, so you don't have to worry about it cutting in and out like I have to when I'm at work. And you can easily share what you're listening to with your friends via Spotify's integrations with social platforms like Instagram. Just search for the Really Rich Podcast on the Spotify app or browse podcasts in the Your Library tab. And follow me so you never miss an episode of the Really Rich Podcast. Last but not least, though, Spotify is the world's leading music streaming service. I don't know if you guys knew that. I did not, but it is. And now it can be your go-to for podcasts as well. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Adam Rich from the Really Rich Podcast. Today I want to talk to you guys about planning for your future. There's so many people in life that do not plan at all, financially, emotionally. They don't think about what the future can bring. It's all about how much money do I have today? Let's spend it all right now. And there's so many valuable things about saving your money, planning, and even if we're not even talking about the financial side of it, just planning or thinking ahead is so beneficial in life for number. I couldn't even give you the amount of reasons why it's so beneficial, but do you know how many people are literally, like, because you hear a lot of times people will say the term, I live for the day, live for today, live for the moment. And that's somewhat good. I mean, I feel like you should enjoy every minute of every day to the most that you possibly can. Obviously, some minutes are harder than others. Some moments are harder than others. You deal with loss and struggle and setbacks and all this. But, one of the keys in life about being happy is to appreciate and just enjoy everything that you have, every minute that you can. When you're in a good time, when you're in the moments of good, when you're in a season of good, it's good to acknowledge that and appreciate that, but also know that, it's not, I don't want to say it's not going to last forever. I mean, your happiness can, last as long as you allow it to, depending on what you're looking at and what you tend to focus on. However, certain moments, like for instance, if you say you play a sport and you're in a big game and you win, well, that good moment right after you win and you're hoisting up the trophy and you're loving every minute of that moment is going to eventually pass. Like you're not gonna think about you're not gonna feel the same way a week later, a month later, a year later, 10 years later. Moments do pass, obviously, but when you just live for that moment and you don't think about what's coming or what could happen next or where should I go from here, you can really, really make yourself vulnerable to a setback, a big one. And like, for instance, if you're playing that game and you win that game and you want those kinds of moments to keep coming, your best bet is to continue practicing, to try to keep getting better, to keep competing, to keep trying to be involved in those moments and then try to win those moments. If you just, say you only practiced whatever sport just long enough to get to that first big game and then you win, and then you never practiced again, think of how awful you'd get eventually. You'd get so much worse, you might never make it back to those kinds of moments. So the next step is, instead of just relishing in the moment and appreciating and being happy about what happened, you should do all those things. But also, as soon as possible, think about where can I go from here to either A, get this kind of a feeling back, or B, go to the better one. Go to an even better one next. If you... I'm not the biggest fan of gambling. I've never had the biggest success with gambling. Maybe you have, but I look at it like this: if you go to the casino and you win $100 and you cash out right then and there, that moment's going to feel good and you're going to enjoy that. But if you want to have that moment again, you have to gamble again. And if you gamble again, but you do it but you don't prepare, or you don't think, or you don't practice, or you don't try to learn the rules of the game better or something, there's a good chance you're going to start losing more. So the fact of the matter is instead of just settling where you are and just thinking that that's enough, you should plan for what you can do next, how you can be better, where you can go from here. And I try to think about life in, and not just to, I guess the biggest thing is I try to appreciate and enjoy every minute that's here, every moment while it's here. I try to enjoy every day, every week, every month. Now, it doesn't always happen the way that I'd like. I don't always appreciate, it's not like every second of every day is filled with nothing but appreciation. Sometimes there's bad times. Sometimes there's dark moments where you don't think about the good in your life, and all you can see immediately is the bad, the negative, the awful things that have happened. But I try to, whether a moment is super good or a moment is super bad, I try to appreciate it for what it is. I try to be aware of it, of what it is. Acknowledge what can happen, what did happen, and what will happen. And then I try to come up with a game plan for the future, good or bad. Because when good moments happen, I try to prepare immediately for how they can happen again. And when bad moments happen, I try to prepare immediately for how to never let them happen again. And let's be honest, some things are out of your control, and in which case I don't worry about them. I don't spend time thinking about those kinds of things, because if you can't control something, if there's no, I can't control whether or not the sun blows up. So I don't ever sit here and worry about if the sun's going to blow up. Is it bound to happen? Probably. They say millions or billions. Scientists say all kinds of nonsense that they just think. They don't know. I mean, I've heard some scientists say that it's millions of years away. I've heard others say that it's billions of years away. The fact of the matter is, neither of them know for sure. The sun may never blow up. I mean, it's looking like it will, but we don't know. So my point is this: the sun could blow up as soon as I publish this episode. I don't know, but what I do know is that it's out of my hands. There's not a damn thing I can do about it. So why the fuck would I even worry about it? Why think about it at all? So I don't. But when moments of either sadness, depression, anxiety, pain, suffering, insecurity, weakness, any number of, pick a negative emotion, a negative thought. Anytime that those things arise, it's always good to at least acknowledge what it is, understand what it is, and then think about, how can I make sure this does not happen ever again? That's the best way to go. And plan. And see, here's the thing, man. I try to make plans for things throughout my life. When I was younger, I was horrible about this. I never did a good job about this. I shit this up, or fucked this up so many different ways when I was younger, because when I was young, I looked at every day is amazing to be alive, which it is. I still look at that the same way. But I also looked at it as every day I'm just going to take it however it comes. I'm not going to think about anything. I'm not going to worry about anything. Just take it how it is. And for the most part, I kind of still do that. But I also game plan. I also think. I also plan for the future now. It's weird because I've always saved money. I've always had this mindset when it comes to money. I just didn't do it with anything else, like my career, relationships, health, working out, hobbies, whatever. I never thought about what can I be doing 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 20 years from now. I never thought about those things. I never cared about those things. It was always, hey, just live life, appreciate every day that it's here, and then, tomorrow do the same thing. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, because that's a very wonderful thing to think about those things. But what I am saying is include, add in the fact of the planning for the future. Like now I think about, okay, I'm 35. If I keep doing X, where am I going to be 5 years from now with doing X? Like if I think about that with the podcast. I think about that with my job that I'm at. I think about that with my 6-month-old daughter, how is it going to be when she's 5 years and 6 months old? I think about all kinds of stuff now about, because essentially every day that you do anything, it has long-term effects for things. And, you know, anything, like for instance, when I first started, I hated politics my whole life. I didn't give a shit about them. I didn't care about who was in office. And I still, for the most part, I don't let it affect my life. You know, I don't care if Obama, Trump, Hillary, I don't care who the fuck is in office. I'm going to live my life and I'm going to try to accomplish certain things that I want to do. And whoever's in office, whatever the laws are, whatever the rules are, I'm going to play by whatever rules are in place. And I'm going to go from there. Because here's the thing. Regardless who gets elected, I don't know who the fuck is going to be elected 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Who the hell knows? So I can't plan my life based on what president might be in office 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And ultimately, it doesn't fucking matter. Never once has a president that's been in office affected my life so dramatically to where I needed to worry about it. So I didn't give a shit. However, when Trump and Hillary were running, I just seen the way that the media was just attacking constantly, both sides, Hillary and Trump. And it actually made me get more involved with wanting to learn about what is it that's happening? What is actually going on? Why is the media saying what they say? Is it true what they're saying? Because I'm hearing contradicting stories. And it made me want to start studying enough to know what each person says and how it affects other people. So I did some studying more and more and more. But when I first watched my very first video or whatever, or read my first article, whatever it was, on what the politics are of Republican and Democrat, what each side stands for and why and all that. The first thing I read, I never thought to myself, man, imagine if I keep reading how much I'll know in 2 years or 4 years or 10 years. I never thought about that kind of stuff. And then fast forward years later, I think to myself, damn, dude, I never stopped. I just kept reading and reading and reading, and look where I'm at now. Like, look how amazing it is now, how the knowledge that I have now because of this. And I do the same shit. I've always done the same thing with money and didn't even really realize it. I mean, when I was young, my dad made me save money that I didn't want to save. And eventually, he even told me right then and there, he said, look, you're going to save today and you're not going to notice a damn thing. You're not going to notice anything in a month. You're not going to notice anything in a year. But in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you're going to see that money has just been piling up over and over and over and over without touching it. That money just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden, bam. Years later, you got tons of fucking money in there that I never planned for. I never saw the end goal at the time. I just kept saving and trusting that eventually it was going to be awesome if I just keep going and going and going. And that's what the fuck I'm telling you to do about your future, about your life, about everything. It's not just about money. Yes, you should definitely do that with money too. I mean, if anything, that's where you should start, is with your money. Just save some. Save a little bit. Save anything you can. I don't want to hear anybody say, well, I can't afford to save any money. You can save $1. You can save $5 a week. Don't pretend for a second you can't save $5 damn a week. Everyone on earth can go without $5 a week. Because if you're homeless, you clearly can go without $5. And if you're a billionaire, you can clearly go without $5. If you make $100 a week, you can save that $5 and only spend $95 a week. You know what I'm saying? Like this, there's no good reason. And the more you save, the better. The more you can afford to save, the better it's going to be in the long run. But do this with everything in life. Plan for everything. Plan every damn thing you do. I think about this. Like, I started my podcast a year ago. When I first started it, I thought to myself, man, I'm just beginning. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I know eventually if I just keep plugging away and keep going and stay consistent and keep doing it and don't let anyone talk me out of it and don't quit, who knows where I could be in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And so when I started, I literally had 0 followers, 0 subscribers, 0 podcasts, 0 episodes. I had 0 money, 0 sponsors. I had nothing. I started at fucking scratch, like everybody. And then I fast forward a year later. And I've built followers. I've built sponsors. I've made money now. There's an income actually coming in. I do advertising. I'm on almost every fucking platform that you can be on to listen to podcasts. And yet, that's just year 1, dude. And I thought to myself, and this is while having a full-time job, having a wife, a 6-month-old little girl. Like, I had a lot of shit going on this last year. Obviously if she's 6 months, that means 3 of those months were, well, my wife was at the end of her pregnancy. And those were not easy months for her, more than anything. But I had to be there to help. And so my point that I'm saying is that I did take breaks. I actually took a couple months off at the end of her, when she was about to have our little girl. I took the last couple months off, and not because, I couldn't handle it or anything like that, or not because I honestly took the time off because it was getting to be, I was trying to do too much with the podcast at too early on, and I wasn't there enough for my wife. And I always said to myself, everything I do is for my family. It's to make myself and them happy. Not just me, not just them, all of us. I want us to all be happy. I want us to all be taken care of. But my number one priority is my wife and my daughter. And it always will be. No podcast, no amount of money, no fame, no nothing will ever come between me and my family. And when I saw that my wife was, not having, she was just having a very hard time because I wasn't there as much as I needed to be, I quit. And she even told me, she goes, you don't have to quit, just tone it down a little. And I said, no, you guys are number one. I need to make sure you're set and you're taken care of first before I even worry about this. And I knew that once I had my little girl that I was going to go right back to, I was going to try to start back up again. And I did. But I needed to take that break for my family. And I don't regret any of it. Did it set me back a lot? Probably, but I don't give a fuck. That's not what's important. What's important is that the things in life that you feel are important, you need to prioritize. Regardless what your career is, how much money you're making, what kind of people are in your life, what kind of fame, glory, power, anything. Whatever is important to you, block out everything else. Do not ignore your priorities. Figure them out and put them first. They're absolutely the most important thing. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? Well, the answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. When I started using Anchor to do my podcast, it was so extremely easy that I haven't even bothered to look for another app to use. I love this app. It's the only one I deal with, the only one I even recommend, period. I recommend you get on there ASAP. If you want to start a podcast, this is definitely the place to go. It's easy. You can drive around and record. You can sit in your basement and record. You can do it anywhere. It's fantastic. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start, anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. But so many times we think about, well, if I stop doing this, or if I just take a break from doing this, it's going to set me back and it's going to put me. But the reality is, who fucking cares how much it puts you back? If you're living your life with goals and you plan ahead and you actually map out what needs to be done and when it needs to be done, and you put your priorities first, then you won't worry about all that other nonsense. Like, here's the thing, man. I think to myself all day that my wife and my child are always going to come first before my podcast, before money, before fame, before anything else, because they are my priority. Now, I love helping people, and that needs to be a very high up priority for me too. However, there are people in my life that are immediately close to me that are extremely important to me. Their well-being is infinitely more important to me than my own goal or my own because my own drive, my own ambition is to help people, is to help others. But that doesn't mean I want to sacrifice my wife and daughter over it. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely want to help people, but I definitely want to help my wife and daughter, and I'm not about to sacrifice those two extremely important people to me just to do a speech or to do an episode or to do an interview or to go do some kind of public speaking thing or whatever the case may be. I'm not putting off and possibly ruining what good I have with my family for that. And if that means that I'm not going to be as big as the next guy or as famous or make as much money than the next guy, okay, that's fine. As long as my number one priority is taken care of. And people need to just listen. And I don't expect everyone to have the exact same priorities as me. I'm not, and I would never judge you if you did. Listen, if you don't have a wife and kid or a husband and a child, or if you don't have, if you're all you're worried about is your career, right? Say your career is number one. That's your number one priority. Well, then I would be grinding day in and day out, doing as much as I possibly can to be as great as you possibly can in your career. And that should be number one priority. If that means sacrificing going out to the bar, going out to a movie with a friend, going shopping, if it means sacrificing playing video games with your buddies, or going out to a nice meal because you need to save your money so you can invest it back into yourself, do what the fuck needs to be done. But map this shit out. Plan ahead. It's always about your plan. See, if you don't have a plan at all, you just kind of, like what I did, I always planned with my money, or not, I didn't even really have a fucking plan. I just had the philosophy of save your money. One day you'll have a lot, and then you can do whatever you want with it. That's not really a great plan, however, it's not a good reason, but it is a great plan. It's a phenomenal plan, shitty reasons. Now I actually have the reasons to back it up. Because I have this thought that, listen, I've been saving for so long that I'm starting to get to this point where I can really make some significant changes in my life, and I have the financial means to be able to accomplish it. And it's such a good feeling. Now, the only thing that's unfortunate is that my wife doesn't see it the same way as I do. So she's worried about it. And I don't blame her for being worried, because she doesn't have the same, vision that I do when it comes to this, because it's not her vision. It's not her goal. It's not her passion. It's not her drive. I don't blame her. But I try to put it in terms for her. She's really good at making food, baking treats, and just anything culinary. Anything with treats. Doesn't have to be baking. She does amazing shit with just regular dishes, dinner and stuff also. But she does these phenomenal cakes and cupcakes and little cookies and things that she makes. But she also does phenomenal shit. For instance, I hated eggplant. She made an eggplant parm dish that was fucking delightful. I actually almost prefer spaghetti squash version of spaghetti over the real spaghetti with the noodles, with pasta. Because of her, because of what she's made. Now, that's insane to me that to choose spaghetti squash spaghetti over pasta spaghetti. However, I'm so close. I'm so close to just you. I guess it depends on what I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to be extra healthy, for sure, I definitely want the spaghetti squash instead of the noodles. But the point is that she does this phenomenal work, and I tried to explain to her, I said, look, if you had all this extra money in your savings, in your 401k, and you were saving and saving and saving, and you knew eventually you could afford to quit your job and go and take out your money and go all in on yourself, wouldn't you do that? And she, the big thing that she thinks, or the big thing she hears, is that the 401k money, you're taking out you're giving up your retirement money to spend it on yourself, or to spend it on your house, or like pay off your house and cars and stuff. And I said it like this. I said, no, I'm 35. I'm not retiring anytime soon. So I'm not blowing my retirement away. What I'm doing is I'm paying off shit that is going to put me back thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars if I don't pay them off. Because as a lot of you may know, when it comes to buying a house, you buy a house, and especially if you have like a 30-year mortgage, you're paying almost 3 times the amount on that house because of interest. So if you spend, if you pay your house off right away, you're saving so many thousands of dollars. But so you could either take that money from your 401k and pay the house off, and then you don't have a house payment anymore. You just have utilities like, your water and electric and shit like that. But then you don't have a 401k anymore. Or you can keep your money in your 401k and just keep paying these bills where you're throwing away thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just on interest. You're giving money away for free to the bank. And for me, it's a no-brainer that and I even told her, I said, this is if I lost my job that I have, because the podcasting thing isn't exactly making me enough to make this my full all in. That's the goal, though. And I told her, I said, what I'd like to do, I said, eventually, is quit my job, not today, but I would like to eventually quit my job, pay off everything I had, the house, the cars. I would still have money left over, and then I could invest that shit into myself. And then worst case scenario, after I pay everything off, I could then go get a job. So it's not, now granted, here's the rub. The reason why she has a problem with this, or the reason why most people have a problem with this for that matter, even my parents who are very smart with money, even my parents have an issue with that. You're looking at the long term, the 401k, and you're saying, damn, I don't want to throw away, because I'm too young to be able to pull out all of it. What I would have to do is I would pull it all out, but the government would take damn near half of it. So say they take 50%. Well, now you're losing 50% of your 401k. And that sounds like a huge loss. However, it's actually, what it is it's a big gamble on it. The way you need to look at it is this. You can take that 401k money out. Yes, you're going to lose half. However, if you can pay off your house and save, what would have been, you could pay your house off, and instead of it costing 3 times the amount, it only costs 1 times the amount. You see what I'm saying? So, all right, for instance, say your house is $100,000, but after 30 years of paying, because of all the interest, you do the calculations, you do the math of whatever it is a month, times that by 12 months. That's how much you spent on your house a year. Then times that by 30. When you actually buy a $100,000 house, you're spending close to $300,000 on a 30-year plan when it comes to the interest that you got to pay. Now, say you owed $50,000 on the house, and you had $100,000 in your 401k. Well, you pull out your $100,000, the government's going to take half. That leaves you with 50. So now you just dropped 50 on you just take that 50, you pay your house off. Now that's an extra $200,000 you don't have to spend on your house, because it was going to be $300,000 instead of $100,000. But because you only owe so much on it now and you're paying it off, you're not spending all that money on your 401k or on the interest to the house. So that money doesn't go towards your house. It goes to the fucking bank, because they loaned you the house. They basically gave you the house up front, but because of them giving you a house up front, you're paying them 3 times as much as what the house is worth. You're paying that in interest. So what I'm trying to do is I would take the 401k money out, pay off the house, so I don't have to pay the bank bullshit money. It's like giving away money for interest. I wouldn't have to pay that, but the house would be paid off. Now the house would be legally mine. I wouldn't owe shit but utilities. I wouldn't have to worry about a house payment, but my 401k money's gone. Well, I'm 35. I've got years and years and years left to make money. So is it a risk? Yes, of course. But you know what else is a risk? Staying in that fucking house and owing on it for 30 more years with no financial freedom whatsoever just to say that you have a 401k. And listen, here's the reality. If I save the 401k money, I can't touch that and keep all that money till I'm 62 or whatever anyhow. So you're talking another 30 years I got to wait of that 401k money. Who the fuck knows if I'll even be alive in 30 years? Who knows what my financial situation is going to be in 30 years? But it's almost like getting a loan up front and then putting you back at zero. Would you rather pay everything off and now be at square one, but everything's paid and you have no bills? Or would you rather consistently keep having bills, but you got a little, emergency money if you need it? I look at that emergency money as, if I quit, the emergency is I can pay my fucking house off and my cars and have zero, like very, very small amount of bills. And then, like I said, I could always go get a job after I pay everything off. Now, my 401k money is going to be shit at that point. But at 35, I am not looking for I'm not looking for that 401k money right now. I got 30 fucking years to build that up. And if you think about it, I didn't really start working until I was 14. I didn't get a 401k until I was 21. So really in 14 years, from the time I was 21 to 35 is the only amount of time, actually 22, because I didn't save that first year. The first year you weren't allowed to. I started at 21. I had to go to 22. At 22, I then started saving. So from 22 to 35, I've saved X amount of dollars. So in 13 years, I've saved so much. I'm willing to bet on myself that I can save at least that much over the next 30. And God knows how much extra. So you see, I look at it as you're taking a risk, but you're doing it in a smart way. You know how many people take out their 401k money? They get, like at my job, if you take out money from your 401k, not only do you have to pay that money back, but you have a deadline of when you have to pay it back, and you have to pay it back with interest. So not only do you have to pay yourself back quickly, so it's like having a loan that you have to pay to yourself. However, you have to pay yourself with interest, and the money that you took out is not currently in there making you money through stocks like it is at the moment. So you're taking money out, so you're losing money in the fact of it's not going to be making you money from stocks. So you're losing that money. Then you have to pay yourself back to get right back to where you already were, and you have to pay yourself interest, and you have to do it in a short amount of time, which means your weekly paycheck is going to be much less because some of that money comes out of your paycheck to pay yourself back. It's just not, to me, that's a dumb way to, if you absolutely have no choice, well, cool, that's why you save money, that's why it's there. But if you can avoid it, please avoid it at all costs. It is not worth it ever to spend your 401k money unless you have to. Now, that being said, if you save and save and save and save and save, and then you can pay some shit off, and then you have all that extra money, dude, that is so much better to have no bills. At 35 years old, if I have no house payment, no car payment, and the only thing I got to worry about is utilities, that's an amazing fucking problem to have, right? But then I would have to go get another job. Because in order for me to cash out my 401k, I'd have to quit the job that I'm at now. And so anyway, I'm telling her all this stuff, right? And I told her, I said, listen, my plan is not to quit today. I'm just letting you know that it's a possibility. Like, that's an option. I'm not doing that. My plan is to stay there until I'm 40. It sucks. I don't want to be there for 5 more fucking years, but it's smart. And the only reason I'm doing it is because it's smarter. I stay there for another 5 years. More money on my house is paid off. More money is thrown into my 401k. The car would definitely be paid off in 5 years. So all I would have to do is pay off my house. I would have more money in my 401k and less money owed on the house. I would have even more financial freedom. I'm just saying, worst case scenario today, we're all right. We're doing all right. But it's because of how I've prepared with my money. I've planned ahead with my money. Now I'm just trying to get the rest of my life in that same direction. I'm trying to prepare. Okay, well, I'm starting like I said, I'm 1 year in on my podcast. Now, if I didn't have to go to this other full-time job and raise my, a daughter and have my wife and all that, and still have to try to find time for sleep, find time to have little family time and stuff like that. If I didn't have to do all that, which I don't want to get rid of the family part, but I'm just saying, like, if I didn't have to worry about my full-time job, 40 hours a week, doing that shit. Dude, and I was able to go all in and like do my own clothing design, my own website, my own, which I'm in the process of doing, but it just takes so much longer because I'm doing it by myself while still spending time with my family, while still working a full-time job, while still working midnights and trying to find time to sleep any chance I can get. It's just extremely difficult. So my point was, imagine what I could do if I had the time. If I can do all this with barely any time, imagine what I could do if all I had was time. And you got to invest in yourself, man. You have to believe in yourself, be confident, and take risks. You know, with great risk comes great reward. Or with great reward comes great risk. But you got to be willing to take the chance. If you're not, you're always just going to be just kind of scooting along until the finish line. I don't want that. I want great things. And when I say great things, I don't mean money. I don't mean fame. I don't mean glory. I mean, I want happiness. I want to be effective. I want to help people. I want to get shit done when it comes to changing people's lives in a better, positive way. That's why I'm telling you all this stuff right now. I'm trying to help you, guide you with your money, your planning, get a game plan. Think about what you're, like, whatever age you are. I don't care if you're 15 or if you're 90. What is your game plan for the next 5 years, the next 10 years? If you're 15 years old, you shouldn't be thinking about next year, soon I'm going to get a license and then I can drive myself around. No, you should be thinking, I'm 15. If I start something today, by the time I'm 30 and still young as fuck, that's 5 years younger than me. I feel young as fuck and I'm 35. If you're 15 years old, that means you've only been alive 15 years, obviously. And if you start something today and you do it for the next 15 years, think about that. Half of your life would have been spent doing what it is that you're starting today. And by the time you've spent half of your life doing something, you're going to be fucking incredible at it, and you're going to be young as shit. Get a game plan. That's all I'm saying. Plan ahead. Think about what you want to do by this time next year. Think about where you want to be by this time 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. It doesn't matter what age you are. Start something today, or maybe you've already started, then you're ahead of the game. And just keep fucking going, dude. Keep trucking along. And stop thinking about, well, today it wasn't a good day. I had a shitty month. I had a shitty year. Who fucking cares? If you start today and you have a 5-year plan and you keep plugging, regardless how shitty the certain days are, certain minutes are, certain hours are, certain weeks are, certain months are, doesn't fucking matter. Keep going forward, plan, execute. And you will be blown away at the results. I'm talking, do this with money, do it with relationships, do it in your life, do it in your career, do it in your fucking hobby. Whatever the hell it is that you like, whatever you want to do it. Don't stop doing it, regardless what you hear from other people, regardless if everyone around you thinks that you suck and you have zero fucking hope. Fuck those people. They don't matter. Their opinions don't matter. Nothing they say is relevant to is even related to your success. If anything, the majority of the time that we get shit on, it puts a little chip on our shoulder to make us want to prove ourselves and be better. Do that. But don't stop. Plan ahead. Get a game plan. Execute, dude. Think about the fucking future. I don't care if you're 50 or 60 years old. 10 years is a long time away, and there's a good chance you're going to be there. Now, of course, something could happen, but there's a good chance you're going to be around in 10 years. If you're there in 10 years, what did you do today that's helped you 10 years from now? Because you don't want to look back 10 years from now and be like, fuck, if I would have started on this shit 10 years ago when Adam told me to, God knows where I'd be right now. Sometimes shit only takes a week or a month or whatever to be successful. Sometimes things go viral. You can't plan for that, though. What I'm saying is get a game plan. Plan for something that will work if you stay steady, stay patient, stay focused, tunnel vision the fuck out of it, and do a good job every day. Even if you have shitty days, even if you have shitty moments, even if you've had failure after failure after failure, the next one could be the winner. So just do it. And stop dicking around with it. Plan ahead. Always plan ahead. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. I got to get going, obviously, and I can't wait to talk to you guys soon, man. This one really hits me good. I feel this one. It means a lot to me, man, because I've prepared for certain things, some more than others, some when I knew better, some when I didn't. But what I do know is this: if you have a plan and you go and you keep moving forward, good things are going to happen. You have to just stay patient. Be patient. Stop wanting everything immediately. Think about what you can do today that's going to help you tomorrow and for the rest of your life. Plan for the next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. Plan as much as you possibly can and try to execute daily. Shut all the negative noise out. Get rid of all the haters. Do you, and do it good. Get a game plan. And you'll be fine. I promise. All right, guys, get a hold of me on Instagram at Really Rich Podcast. On Twitter, it's Really Rich Adam. Snapchat's Really Rich. LinkedIn is Adam Rich. I encourage everybody to get a hold of me on LinkedIn. You'll see it. It'll say Adam Rich, founder and host of the Really Rich Podcast. You'll find it. But just get a hold of me and either YouTube, what is it? The voice message? Yeah, you can leave me voice messages on Anchor. I mean, there's all kinds of shit. And now I'm on damn near every platform there is when it comes to podcasting. So you should have zero trouble finding me. I did some work over the weekend and got myself set up. So even on iHeartRadio now, and what's another big one? Oh, TuneIn. I'm still waiting to get on TuneIn Radio. That's one of the few. But you should be able to find me on Apple. You should be able to find me on, obviously, Spotify, Breaker, Stitcher, just anything. And even iHeartRadio now, baby. The number one podcast platform in the world, according to their own page. But I'm on there, baby. So I love you guys, and I thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon, all right? Peace! I'm out of here.